Welcome to Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Holy Fuck. Two gals on the prowl for enlightenment, sex, and all things holy. Holy Fuck. Each week, beauty alchemist and transformational coach and speaker, Katherine McClelland, and spiritual healer and life coach, Krista Kim, discuss navigating spiritual consciousness in a real human body. Stumbling through dating, relationships, and everyday life, all while maintaining a fucking sense of humor.
Hey, Krista.
Hi, Katherine.
How are you today?
I'm awesome.
Awesome. I love that. That's
Yes.
beautiful. Thanks for sharing
How
that.
about you?
I'm great today, actually.
Okay, awesome with a hesitant great.
No, it wasn't hesitant. I was trying to find the right word.
Okay,
Like close to awesome.
good.
Anyway, feeling fabulous. Really enjoying the day and love spending time with you. So this is fun. Hi, crowd. How have you been?
We hope good.
We hope good. We hope you're all starting your new year with a bang or not a bang or something.
Unless you're getting banged, then we fully support that.
I love how Krista just right there. She's right there. I love it. So we're going to go back a couple of weeks to something Krista referenced before Christmas.
What could you possibly be talking
What
about,
could I
Katherine?
be talking about? And we're going to go, I'm going to read something to you, and we're going to see where Krista is today. On episode 25, this was part of the summary. Speaking of mystery men, through her own exploration of letting go, Krista reconnects with an important man from her past. Having done his own work, he arrives on the scene, available and ready to commit. Will she be able to let go of her past hurts and judgments? What will happen? Stay tuned. Okay, so that's us today. We have stayed tuned. And now it's Krista's turn to answer those questions. What on earth happened at your Christmas, Krista?
Jeez. Well, I mean, that day when we did that episode, things were so fresh and so new. And I was just like a deer in headlights. Like, I don't even know what to talk about. And yet it was really present in my life. And so I wasn't at that time ready to go into detail. Now I'm barely ready to go into detail, but I'm going to go into it. So,
Would you like to reveal the new identity of our mystery man?
fuck. So,
Apparently not.
Rika
Krista is currently ripping her clothes off because she's
so
sweating
uncomfortable
everywhere. Scratching her hand. Okay.
So I have decided to rename Rico Suave to better reflect the new iteration of
Consciousness.
Yeah,
Consciousness.
the new more conscious version of him. So I'm going with golden eyes because when I look at his eyes, I just see these sparkly golden eyes.
So that's exciting. So that I'm sure for plenty of our listeners, there have been moments when they have gone through relationships that have ended and maybe not so easily. And maybe there have been some big challenges and possibly betrayals.
Yes.
And there's always the question of, do you go back? Do you reconnect? Do you find your way back? And you have
how to know when it's over. I think that's a big question for a lot of people is like, how do you really know when a relationship is over, done, complete? Final?
And how do you know if it's safe to go back?
Right.
And what skills and tools are you using? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. So Krista has brought back to the surface a human being whose name I believe is Golden Eyes.
Golden eyes.
Golden Eyes. Okay, so we've got Golden Eyes, but his consciousness is so different from who he was being earlier in his wounded or say less healed space. With Krista, who was also in her more wounded and less healed space. So what they created together was, we could probably...
Fucking chaos.
well, I was going to say a clusterfuck, but
Okay.
either way,
Both work.
they work. So now what we're going to hear from Krista today, thank you, Krista, for bearing your soul. What's up? What happened? And what are the challenges?
Well, so sometimes things happen in life. So for Rico Suave, he had a big experience that happened in his life that really shook him up, shook him to the core, shook who he knew himself to be, kind of scrambled his DNA in a way. And through that experience, I've had an experience like that before where I kind of had a energetic Kundalini experience and it was spontaneous and it changed. I woke up being a changed person. So I can only say that this experience for him seemed very similar in that you wake up one day and you're just not the person that you were the day before. And so that is really the only way in which I could have even gone back into a conversation with then Rico Suave.
So what you're saying is your trust level was so low with him because of all of the experiences of not following up on keeping his word and showing up for you in the ways that you'd asked him to. Your trust level was so low that you were done.
Right.
And we kind of all heard that.
Yes.
And then he had a life-changing experience, which is his to share or not share. Right. So we're not going to share that. But it wasn't necessarily that he had a Kundalini experience or something that people can't relate to. Often these kinds of things will happen if a friend gets hurt or someone suddenly gets sick or something physical happens to you or you get super scared. You get close to having something bad happen. So I'm just putting this in context because it wasn't something spiritual that happened to him. It was something physical that happened that created an experience.
And a spiritual experience.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Great.
And so he was able to come to me from a completely different space, I would say in an awakened space for his true feelings for me and for us, which he always knew those feelings were there. That's why it was such a cluster with the two of us, because when you really strongly love someone, it can be really scary. And I know both him and I did plenty of things to sabotage the relationship because we cared so much.
Isn't that funny?
It is. It's the most bizarre thing because, with one of the people I was dating recently, it's like, I wouldn't have been upset if they would have done the things that Rico Suave did to me because I didn't have that level of love and passion and caring for them. I mean, I cared for them, but not to that level. So I'm still in the process of understanding that when you love someone so strongly, it can create a lot of chaos.
Right.
And I want to love somebody that much. I want to be in partnership where I love someone that much. So what do I need to learn in order to hold space for that massive amount of love and not run scared every 5 seconds? And him as well. Like
both of you.
We both have the same patterns. And I do have to say, like, everybody here in podcast land has gotten to hear my side of the story for 6 months, right? They have not been able to hear his story, and his story is his story, and it doesn't sound anything like my story.
Probably not.
There's many things where I say, "Oh, he lied," or "He did this," and he's like, "No, I was actually telling you exactly how it is. You just could not hear me."
Oh,
so he has his version of his truth as well. But now we're coming back together, Golden Eyes and I, and we're having to really look at our past patterns. And if we're going to be in partnership together, which we have decided, we're giving it a full-on committed go. Like we are all in. As much as we know how to be all in, we're both being all in.
Okay, I need to stop you and bring our group, our crowd up to speed, because there was something that had to happen for you to be able to re-enter in a new way. So it wasn't just that he came back in a new way, but when he came back in a new way, you had to come in a new way to care for yourself in a different way.
For sure.
So do you remember what that was?
The first thing that I had to do was get really angry. I had to express a lot of bottled up anger. And I'm not saying like physically yelling and that type of thing, but I had to say, I'm really angry that you did this. You hurt me when you did this. And angry. And it took me like days to get through the list. And
good for you.
What I needed from him was not justifying it or not arguing about the things. I needed him to just say, I really hear that hurt you, and I'm sorry that happened. Please forgive me. And he did it without me asking. Like he was in a space in his new awareness, his new consciousness. He was able to show up for me in that way. He wasn't able to do that before.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to do that for him probably either at that time.
But we know he wasn't able to do it for you.
Yeah. And so me having a voice this time, because I was in a space of like, I'm no longer scared of losing you because I've already lost you. I'm not scared of us fucking it up. We've already fucked it up in so many ways. So this was me getting to say everything I felt with no attachment to the outcome. I wasn't considering taking him back. I wasn't necessarily wanting him back.
Right.
I was actually really ashamed at even the thought of having a conversation with him about us coming back, because I was like, oh my God, I've told everybody out there in podcast land that I'm done. This is over.
And never mind your closest friends who are, come on, Krista.
Like, really, Krista, you're going to do this again? I mean, even now, like when I meet people and they're like, really? That's who you're going with? Like, it's because they've heard the story and they've witnessed me and my highs and my lows, and no one wants to see me go through that pain again. And I don't want to go through that pain again. And I know it's like a never say never thing, but I don't feel like I will ever get to that level of devastation anymore because I don't have the expectation of needing to, I don't need to grasp it and hold it so tight.
So, Krista, would you say that he holds a very, very important part of your life, but not that you have to have him as the first, what would you say, first place that you are connected to the universe? You know, like were you over connected to him in the first place and maybe letting go of some of your other?
Definitely back in the summer, it was like grasping, so afraid to be a day away from him or like losing connection and just wanted to be around him all the time. And I like lost myself in the enormity of the love we felt and the passion we felt and all of that. And it like, it swallowed both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this time the conversation is, how do we honor how big that love is and not let it swallow us? And how do we feel safe in it?
I love that part. I really want to focus on that part for a second. So the two things that you've said so far, they're really, really key for me. And in some of my experiences with, are you going to be able to reapproach someone that you have a betrayal with? This is a big question. Lots of us grapple with this over and over in our lives. Where did the betrayal come from? How did it get created? Those are all really good questions. And who am I today? And who are they being today? And have we grown through something? There's no way to really protect yourself, as you said. So you have to go in with this new consciousness that says, I'm no longer needing this person. I don't need the outcome to be that I will be with you forever. So I am free to speak my truth, which is anger one day, love another day, you know, self-support, shame, whatever it is. You're willing to go out on the limb to express yourself, right? And now that actually is your protection.
Because I really needed to feel safe in expressing myself, first and foremost, because what I found in the Rico Suave version of the relationship, I didn't feel safe to speak up and say what I needed because I always felt like it was getting turned around on me.
It was.
And
that was the way. That was the tactic that was being used.
Yeah. Like, well, that's
How is
your
this
stuff.
about you?
Yeah. And so in that, I just started becoming silent and more quiet. And then
More scared.
And then I completely lost power. And having some of the dating relationships that I've been able to have in between Rico Suave and Golden Eyes, I learned so much about myself and I really came back into my power. And one relationship in particular was so valuable to me in showing me how important I am, how smart I am, what a great partner I am, and in the ways in which I do show up for the people in my life. And that was something I'd forgotten about myself.
And what you deserve in terms of someone showing up for you.
Yes.
Which you really got in that experience with that other person.
He's amazing in reflecting that back to me. And so because I had that experience, moving toward Golden Eyes, I was like, I am no longer willing to accept anything less than that, than what I experienced with that man.
It's really great the way Spirit just chucked that relationship in there for you to have that experience and really fully accept yourself.
And I got to say that to Golden Eyes. I got to say, this is what I experienced with this other person. And I felt treasured and cherished and beautiful and valuable.
And you were treated really well.
Really well. And I have, like, that has to be the most basic level at which our relationship starts. I'm not willing to have anything less than that.
Beautiful.
And he was able to hear it. You know, the future still has to play out with it because we are also still changing very rapidly. And we still have a lot of healing to do because of the betrayal. And, you know, in hindsight, I can look at everything that happened and realize how much we both cleared, how many past patterns of lifetimes of bullshit that we were carrying, like literally just got smacked out of us in the last 6 months. So from a spiritual perspective, I can actually look at the woman he was with and be like, oh my God, thank you. What a fucking miracle worker you are that you were able to clear that much material out of us in such a quick amount of time. Like, that's a big soul that has to come in and take that
and
on.
you had to also take it on.
Yeah,
So,
and I had to do that for her as well. Like,
right.
we're all in this little thing together. So,
right.
But I was too hurt back in the middle of it to see it from that perspective.
Sure.
I was trying to.
Yeah.
We had many podcasts about me trying to see it from that perspective and knowing that somehow it's serving me, but I wasn't quite there yet.
You didn't have the feeling of gratitude and
right.
and receptivity to that
right.
healing. Yeah.
So now I can look back and go like, oh my God, I was able to really move through some big material for myself and come into this new relationship with him from a place that I don't think I've ever been in with any relationship I've ever been in.
That's beautiful.
So,
yeah. So you guys embarked on this journey from a whole new place, which is, it's kind of funny. We're giving him a new name. Should we give you a new name?
Did I even have a name before?
Well, we'll just call you Krista.
I felt like I was bubble gum on the bottom of a shoe before. So maybe I'm a bubble now floating.
Well, it's just precious and it's beautiful and you're owning your own process. So we don't really need to rename you. But so from the standpoint of you being able to step into back into your power, when you release the need for the outcome to be, we're going to be forever together, and your dependency on that, what had you replaced in your life? What else were you giving yourself that hadn't been there in the summer that was bolstering you and lifting you into a place where you felt solid, safe, secure? Not just how another man treated you, but what was going on maybe with your relationship with spirit, or were you deepening in some aspect of, I really don't know.
I think, definitely my connection to spirit is unlike anything I've ever experienced, and my level of faith in that everything that's happening to me in my life is happening for me. I just keep hearing that. This is for me. This is for me. And so every time I surrender to that idea, the better things are getting.
Nice. So that's just a general letting go. Yeah. And letting your will become one with the spiritual will for you.
Because when I let go of the relationship with him, and really when I let go, I was like, I never need to see him the rest of my life. At least that's what I felt.
That's what you thought, yeah.
Yeah. That allowed for whatever needed to happen between the two of us to start unfolding in a new way. That's my perspective on it right now.
Sure.
Like, if I would have still been grasping at him, the energy would still be of from neediness and needing him to complete me and to make me happy and everything. And when I stepped away from him and started dating someone else, I was in a place of, I want to have fun. I want to laugh a lot. I've been dancing. I played a lot of games. I made it a point to...
Went away for the weekend.
I went away for the weekend. Yeah, I made it a point to have just fun and be joyful and not get wrapped up in all the fucking drama.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided to live my life from that place, he was able to come back in. And that was my new standard. Because I got to say to him, look, I love all the spiritual work we're doing together. I love the meditations, the conversation, and all that. And I need to go to the movies sometimes. And I need to
have a nice dinner.
I need to do some real world stuff, go dancing, whatever. It can't all be floating up in the stars. If I'm going to be in relationship with someone, it has to have both components. And I think where we got into a little bit of trouble over the summer was it was so holy that we were floating and it just got really ungrounded. And I don't know, I couldn't find myself fully in that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that Krista, that you and I talk about all the time, and we love to offer to our beautiful listeners, is this idea that you can be alive, fully, sexually, physically, playing, dancing, eating, drinking, all of that, and actually live in a consciousness of what we would call heaven or openness, where you're connected to the universe and connected to whatever your spiritual person, God-ish, but beingness is. And so that in itself is a huge step for you. Is the first step is to connect yourself to the spiritual world. And from my Christian upbringing, I have to say the words that just came into my head, which is kind of funny, is you shall have no idols before God.
Right.
And if you think about this, and for our listeners, really think about this with relationships. Do you ever put your relationship to someone else and feeling the need to hold on to them before your relationship with yourself or your spiritual connection to the universe? Do you ever give yourself up? And if you do, really consider that's a heavy price to pay to have a relationship.
Yeah.
So you took that power back. Mm-hmm. You got inside yourself. You got very clear. You're like, I'm pissed as shit. I'm not coming back here until I express myself. Mm-hmm. And you got unattached to the outcome and you started to reconnect.
Yes.
What happened next?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if somebody would have told me a month ago that my December month would have looked the way it did, I would have been like, you're fucking crazy. So the biggest thing, well, one of the bigger things was, obviously I have 3 kids. And what I didn't know over the summer is that really scared him. The thought of like being so in relationship with someone that it meant she's got kids and she's got a house.
At home, every day.
Yeah. And which means he had to be really solid and, not necessarily show up in a fatherly role, but be ready to be in these young people's lives, right? And he has kids and they're great but they're in their 20s and they're not necessarily in the house anymore. So that was kind of a big deal. And then, I have a beautiful house. And from the outside it I don't know, it looks like something maybe a little, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not challenging, but hard to step into. It's like
for him,
it felt
his
like
circumstances were sort of in some egoistic kind of way less concrete in the physical world.
He perceived his place as less exactly. And I think that was maybe bringing up some past shame from past relationships. So his stuff was being triggered in that. And he's now walked through the other side and realizing, like, fuck it, like, I love you and it doesn't matter. And so we were able to, I can't believe this, we spent the holidays together. He spent the holidays with my kids, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. And it was magical. It was as if he had been there their whole life. And it happened so quickly because, like, 2 weeks before Christmas, even a week before Christmas, I was like, you're not meeting my kids yet. You're not going to spend holidays with me. And all of a sudden, there he is. And it was the best way I could have seen it unfolding. Yeah. I don't think it could have gone any more smoothly.
Yeah. And it wasn't just smooth. It was interesting and connected. And then he cooked for your kids, right? And,
oh my gosh, for the whole family. Christmas Eve dinner. I mean, like, really, the first time you really meet everybody is Christmas Eve. I mean, those are some big shoes to step into. So not only was he stepping into my house, stepping into my bed, stepping in with my kids and my mother and friends, it was like, and then cooks a meal on top of it. It was huge.
It was brilliant. Yeah. And the thing that you can see from that is he could not have done that in the place of limits that he was in before in the summer, when he was holding himself back, when he was feeling limited by your house, your kids, your this, your that. Mm-hmm. He had so much disconnect with the universe that doesn't know anything about all these things.
Right.
And the beautiful thing that you said, I want to really poke at it a little bit, is miracles happen instantly. They return you to the field of consciousness. That's what a miracle is. Whatever it is that it takes to bridge you back into the field of consciousness. So once you guys made that decision that you were, you haven't even said it out loud, so I'm going to let you say, what was the decision that you made that you felt like changed everything? You were both holding a little back. You were sitting on either side and kind of, okay.
I think it's to be all in at the same time. And so for 2 people who have really had a lot of commitment issues in the past,
we have touched on that.
We have definitely touched on that. So when you have 2 people who are commitment-phobes and then they meet each other and they fall madly, passionately in love, that looks really scary because then it's like, oh my God, I've been wanting this relationship, but now all of a sudden it's here. It seems too scary. Let me just fuck it up.
Yeah, let me sabotage this.
Yeah. And so one of us would be really in and be like loving to the other. And so then when the other one would come back and be loving back, then the first one would be like, oh no, now I have something to be mad about. And so we were like ping ponging of like one was always in and the other would be on the outs. And so probably our biggest conversation is, can we both be all in at the same time? And we both swallowed really hard and we're like, okay, we're going to both be in and we're going to be, and not that we're like looking to the future, like, oh, forever. But we are going into it from the perspective of, okay, this is our last time. This is our last rodeo. Like, let's do this.
Yeah. And the thing about making the future something is all about, on some level, fear. Like, we have to plan this. We have to know what it's going to be. Right now, all you're deciding, all you guys are learning is you're developing your trust. You're developing how long can this last? Is it going to go wobbly? So what's going to happen and what are we going to have to field? Do we want this to last longer? And, the truth is this is a really critical time for you to stay in your own space and him to stay in his.
For sure.
Because there's a great possibility something could go wrong here.
Oh, yeah. We could relive the summer in an instant. It would just take like one little thing, right? And we're very conscious of that. And we're having to have a lot of conversations around like being honest with the other person of like, I feel really scared in this moment. And the other person, instead of being like, don't feel scared, you don't be scared, it's fine. Like being like, why are you scared? And then letting the space be safe enough where the person can say, I'm afraid I'm going to lose you, or I'm afraid that if you go out of town like you did last time, that you're going to cheat on me, or, that's bringing up all of these fears. And in the past, I wouldn't have spoken them out loud.
Right.
And it's like, can I feel safe enough to say, hey, that hurt my feelings, or I'm not feeling cared for in this moment?
Well, what I love about your specific connection to the universe is it just keeps giving you so many gifts and so many challenges. So right
Thanks,
after you've
Spirit.
had this amazing Christmas where everything went beyond your wildest dreams, certainly manifesting very big things, what happens right on the heels of that is that he leaves the country.
He is gone out of the country for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And we made...
What happened last time he left for 2 weeks?
Yeah, he didn't come back mine.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. And it only took a couple days for that to happen. So it's not lost on me that his last go-away trip was 2 weeks. And this one is 2 weeks.
I know.
And I'm seeing actually the same pattern play out a little bit, meaning like the first 2 days he was gone, we were all connected and sending cute little emojis and notes and all of this stuff. And then day 3 rolls around and it's like a little bit like crickets, like, I don't know, like just I could feel the separation happening a little bit. And it started really like triggering my shit. And I was like, even stupid things like, wow, I sent 3 heart emojis and he only sent 1. Does that mean like I'm giving myself too much? I mean, it's like stupid stuff inside of my head. But I saw him kind of feeling the same way. And it reminded me of the summer, which...
So what did you do differently than the summer this time, since you're reapproaching in this new way with a new person, new consciousness, new choices? Yeah. What did you do differently?
Well, today I texted him and said, I'm really scared. Can you call me as soon as possible? And in the past, I wouldn't have said, can you call me? Because I would have felt like, well, he's out of town. He's busy. He's got other things. I don't want to pull his focus from what he's doing. And in his mind, he's like, if I don't call him, then he thinks, oh, she doesn't care. She's not thinking about me. So this time I'm realizing he actually needs me to call him or to connect with him to make him feel safe.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Right?
I knew I needed that. I didn't know he needed that.
And you also told him you were scared.
And I told him I was scared. And he's like, scared of what? And I'm like, scared of losing you, scared that I'm not going to be able to show you that I love you enough during this separation and that the same thing will happen as last time.
Because that's what happened last time. You misinterpreted what he wanted from you in the summer. And then he felt abandoned by you. And he went and found somebody else to help him feel connected.
Yeah.
And you gave him lots and lots and lots of space.
Which he didn't want. I thought I was loving him and giving him the space. And it was the opposite of what he needed. And so this is interesting, and like the way people need to be loved and love language, and really him and I are very similar. We both need a lot of words and affection and a lot of connection in order to feel safe. And I thought it was just about me needing that. And so I'm trying to be very proactive this trip in reaching out to him and sharing with him how I feel about him. And I can see this part of me that's like dancing on stage, like, I love you, like out of a little bit of fear of that's going to happen again. And I have to stop that because that will perpetuate, That's like sending this energy forward of creating that or manifesting that for myself. So this is all very fresh because it's just what's happening today. Yeah. And so even when I said I'm scared and his texts back were not the nicest texts back because he was then having his own experience around it. So I stopped the texting and I'm like, you need to call me, even if it's for a 5-minute call. We get on the phone, everything's fine again. I mean, we got to talk face to face and work it out, which is another thing of like, texting sucks. It's so hard. And it's really hard when you both speak 2 different languages too, because the words get jumbled a bit and then the intentions get jumbled. But it's like, get on the phone and talk it out, because for us, just seeing each other on FaceTime, hearing the inflections in the voice, getting to really look at each other and settle each other down was really important today because we had really both gotten scared.
Yeah. And it was really great that so again, it's like you get present, you follow your intuition. I've been texting him. That doesn't seem like that's working. Let me do something else. Like, this is so important to me. And so, it's you're unattached to the outcome, but strangely enough, you're more committed than you've ever been.
Yes.
So the commitment I'm noticing is to yourself and to him this time, not just to him. Like, you were overcommitted to him and undercommitted to yourself so that you couldn't tell the truth. You were hiding because you were committed to the outcome of being with him versus committed to the moment and expressing as much love and caring. And
you just said it. I'm committed this time to expressing as much love as I can. Because I know that's part of my journey too. It's like, I'm not necessarily the most flowery, nurturing, loving, floating fairy. I mean, like, you have this with me all the time. You're like, I get what you're trying to say in your text, but could you soften the languaging? And, it's something I didn't necessarily know about myself. And it's taken several people reflecting that back to me. So I am committed to getting past the betrayal, because even in these conversations I'm having with him today, it's the betrayal still lingering in the background.
And Are you talking about that with him?
Yes. And we are also committing to that happened, and we can go over it over and over and over, which is then just keeps it lingering. Or we can start trying to connect on the joy and on the stuff we want to create and the fun we want to have. Because that was also a defining moment too. I kept spinning the old story. And at a certain point, he's like, I get it. We've rehashed it 1,000 times. When are we going to get to the fun? Like, when can we start the honeymoon period? And it just dawned on me. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, yeah, I could sit in this betrayal cycle for the rest of my life, punishing him, making him pay for it, making him continue to say he's sorry, he's sorry, he's sorry, he's sorry. It's like, he's already done all of that. So at what point am I going to let him off the hook and let us both step into our life together and our love together?
You know what that just reminded me of, Krista? What? So last week, what were we talking about was letting go. No, 2 weeks ago. We were talking about letting go, which was the beginning of this conversation. Mm-hmm. And
last week we talked about
what happens when you let go, how scary it is when you let go. And so what I'm hearing is that same conversation is that what you have to do is you have to let go of your punishment. You have to let go of your story that he's going to do it again. You're going to take a chance here. You're going to step out on a limb. It could go either way, honestly. But when you're on your own team, like you are now, when you're really fully inhabited in yourself, you have your intuition on, you're present, you're available, and you're sharing what's true for you, you're going to keep sharing what's true for you in a moment forever. Mm-hmm. And you're going to stop perpetuating this story. So you might take it into a Byron Katie thing where you're like, okay, what's true here? What's not?
What's true? Yeah.
Work through your mental process, work through your mindsets. Wonder if it's related to any other relationship you've ever had. Maybe you need to do some work there. Mm-hmm. This is like the spiritual process that we talk to you all about over and over. Is working your process is about reclaiming your power, getting you back into your heart, stepping into the feeling of loving, and stop telling a victim story.
Right.
And so you can be free in your free will to live your fabulous life. And this is Krista's choice. This choice she's making is definitely on an edge.
Oh,
you're
my God.
Taking someone who has said, I'm willing to betray you. And you're saying, okay, you've gone through something. I see you're different. I'm willing to try this again. And I know that this is a chance I'm willing to take. And it's a powerful choice because you're making a choice for loving. And you're going to love yourself first, though. So
For sure.
that way, there's a level of protection with your intuition and with your connection to yourself that's going to keep this field safe for you. Even if you get hurt again, it won't be like it was. Even if he makes a choice, you're so surprised. Like, really?
Right.
Maybe his consciousness slips backwards. Who knows what could possibly happen? Maybe yours
Maybe
goes
mine
in a different
goes.
direction.
Because I have to say, there's this part of me that, okay, he cheated on me, right? So
Got some payback?
he's got that out of the way. Like, well, it's more like not payback, but it was like, shoo, he did it first.
So if you slip, you're not such a bad person.
Yeah, something like that. But
Get out of jail free.
Yeah. I think we're both even at this point.
Yeah,
so, which
of course,
the playing
of course.
field's even and like we're moving forward. But with that all said, there is a level of I'm scared. Like scared, I'm not scared of the old behaviors coming back. That's not where the fear is. The fear is in like, how big can this love be? How big can I allow it to be? And what does that look like? Because
That's interesting.
That concept I was talking about earlier, the more you love someone, the bigger the stakes are, the scarier it is to really open my heart in that big way, because it's more to lose in a way.
Well, I hear you. And, I'm glad that you're connected to more than just one person in this process. Like, you're connected to yourself, you're connected to spirit, and you're working your process. So, you could be hurt again, and it's not the same thing. You're not going to be blindsided if something happens.
No.
And we're going to hold out for this being a manifestation of healing for both of you. You've healed, he's healed, and now these two beings that really have this deep love for each other are actually free to love each other. I just want to say this out loud because it's really important, Krista. This is a huge choice, and it's a brave choice. And your self-honoring choice, because this is a man that you love. And none of these choices are in any way a victim choice.
No.
They're all coming from your knowledge that people can heal, that forgiveness is a real thing, that honestly, what he gave you as a gift from this experience is maybe even more valuable than needing some forgiveness conversation, although you did need to let him know that you were angry, and he did need to say,
Make amends.
I hear you, and make amends. And you've gotten so much out of this in terms of your own growing. If this man goes away with his beautiful eyes, there's more of you that's available to love from this point forward.
Yeah.
This reminds me of that Rumi quote. Can I say it?
Please.
So it's not, let me see if I can get it. Ours is not to seek for love, but to seek and find within us all the barriers to love. So seek and find the barriers to love within us. So what we're claiming in that poetry, which is a Rumi, is that the barriers to love are actually inside Krista or inside me or inside each of us.
Because if I love him too much, then I can get too hurt.
Right?
That was my barrier.
That was your
I'm
barrier.
going to save a little bit of my love. I'm not going to call him when he needed me to call him. I'm not going to tell him how much I love him all the time, because that'll make me look too vulnerable and make me look like I love him more than he loves me. Those are my barriers. I withhold a little bit just to keep myself safe. But what that does is makes him feel unsafe.
And it creates a result you were trying to avoid.
Exactly. Exactly.
Got to go find someone who's going to love me.
Yeah.
So,
And the full circle moment that we were talking about, the concept that we were talking about, that I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast is, how do you know when a relationship is done? And not that I have that answer, but I'm getting closer to it in that every time I said I was done with him, there were the first time I was like, oh, I'm done. There was so much anger and hatred. And then I go back, and then there's kind of this resolve, but like pissed offness and just deep, deep pain and suffering and hurt. And then I go back again, and then I let go again. And I'm like, okay, that didn't work. But I still would have these blips in my mind of like hurt come up or anger come up.
Yeah.
And what I'm learning at this point is that as long as I'm having those unloving feelings of some sort, the relationship is not complete. That doesn't mean I have to go back and get back in relationship with that person, but it means that I still need to continue the healing work.
Yeah.
until I can literally look at that person and love them as if they were God or Jesus
as
and
if
children.
They were
as
God.
if.
Just like as if they're not.
Right. Exactly. But if I can't fully look at them and appreciate them from that lens, I'm still not healed. Our tether is still tying us together and wrapping us up. Yeah. So I can look back now and say that on that podcast where I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm completely done. I still had a lot of hurt inside of me. And that's why he was able to come back and access me again, because I still had a whole bunch of learning and healing.
Yeah, I remember Ron from the University of Santa Monica saying, well, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. It's that you no longer have any energy at all connected. So if he came back, you'd just be like, yeah, no, like not anything against you, but there's nothing here. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm going to be like a quote-o-matic right now because I've got another one, which is really one of my favorites because I think it really speaks to what you're saying right now, which is when it is done, there is peace. When it is not done, there is not peace. So that's what you were just saying. Mm-hmm. So when it's not done, there's still something in the field. And I have relationships in my life where there's still not doneness, and it's very hard to live with them. I'm not proud of that. I'm not also in charge of making everything be done when I'm ready.
It goes back to that levels of peace too, right? Because sometimes we think we're healed because we're not like raging at 100%. We're only raging at 30%. We're like, okay, I'm good enough. And it's like, no, it's actually the last 30%, the last 5% where the really big, juicy healing happens.
Yeah, quite possibly the most tender spot won't get revealed until it's really all the way down. Mm-hmm. And so what is true, then what we say about this in our framework is that we have to find our peace no matter what the reality is.
Right.
So whether someone has felt peaceful with us, whether someone's rejecting us in their life, whether someone's carried a story about us for 25 years, whatever, the bottom line is, can you feel peace? Can you bring the peace to yourself, knowing that you've done everything you can at this point to heal and be peaceful, and then let it go and let what is. If the other person still has something, then you let that go too. And you let them have their experience and the dignity of their process.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Krista, great job again.
Thank you.
It's really fun being on this journey with you. I never know where it's going to be when I text her, how have you been? How was your Christmas?
Life is funny and it changes very quickly. And especially I think when we do the spiritual work, life and boulders get thrown out of the backpack really quickly. And so again, it makes life sometimes appear chaotic. And was part of the shame over the last month. It's like, people are going to think I'm crazy if I go back to him. And I had to be like, so fucking what? So they think I'm crazy. And they get to witness, all of you out there, whether you agree with my decisions or not, or think I'm crazy or not, like you get to hear the process of healing and what it looks like to go through all of these stages of relationship. And whether your relationship is experiencing betrayal or whatever the issue is in the relationship, these same tools apply no matter what the problem is. Same tools apply.
Yeah, and I think the step that we didn't say right here, and I just want to reference it really quickly, is when Krista said she had to let go of the shame of like what the people thought about her, is what happens in that step is that you forgive yourself for the judgments you're carrying so that you're free to explore whatever is next instead of hiding behind shame or judgment or something that you're holding that's keeping you from experiencing your full loving. So our challenge today for you is, where are you hiding behind something, even if it's a really well-justified story, even if it's something that happened to you when you were young? Where can you make an inroad into it to open up your life so that you can be free to love more deeply? Spiritual practice is about letting go and opening up, not adding things on or becoming burdened by an experience of the eternal God, life, love, whatever you call it. Yeah. We love you guys. You know we're going to tell you.
Spread the love.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want the opportunity to see the gals of Holy Fuck in person? If so, go to holyfuckpodcast.com and join our mailing list so you can find out when and where these goddesses will be transforming lives next. And yes, I know, I'm talking about myself in third person. Open your browser, type in holyfuckpodcast.com, click on mailing list, and give us your most trusty email, not that bogus one you give to Walmart. So sign up now. Not tomorrow. Now. Now. Thank you.